video, I'm going to be showing you a different style of stitch for each section of this gorgeous textured blanket. So we're going to be learning a few different stitches, putting them all together and creating one gorgeous project. So we will start with the moss stitch. How to do the moss stitch in knitting. I'm going to cast on an even number of stitches. You can cast on the number of stitches of your choice. For this example, I am going to long tail cast on 20 stitches. After casting on 20 stitches, we will start our stitch pattern repeat with row 1. We're going to start by purling the first stitch and knitting the next stitch. And that's a repeat all the way across for row 1. So we will purl and knit, purl and knit, and we will do that all the way across. Now, after finishing row 1, we're going to start row 2. And for row 2, we're just going to start by knitting. So we're just doing the opposite. If there's a purl stitch that you're working this stitch into, it will be opposite. So we're going to knit, then purl, knit, and purl. And we will work this for all the stitches for this row, just simply knitting and purling. We can already see that we're starting to see that nice moss stitch pattern repeat. Now, after doing row 2, we are simply going to be repeating row 1 and row 2 for the pattern repeat. So this is a really, really simple stitch. So we'll go back to doing row 1 where we are going to purl and then knit. And we'll work that all the way across for this row. And then for the next row, we'll start with knitting and then purling. So we're doing opposite of the stitch we're working into. So where this is a knit, we will purl. Where this is a purl, we will knit. So while we are doing this today in an even number of stitches, it is absolutely possible to do the moss stitch with an odd number of stitches simply by following those rules of working opposite into the stitch. If this is a purl, we will knit it. So that can work with an odd number of stitches as well. The advantages of the moss stitch are that it creates a more flat fabric that doesn't really curl. So it can work great as a texture on its own. It's an amazing texture, or for borders on blankets or garments, because you can work them right in. You don't have to work them later. You can simply do a certain amount of stitches of the moss stitch and then the center part of your blanket. So for this one, for example, I started with doing some rows of the moss stitch, and then I kept them on each edge of each row, and then the blanket is complete and it looks like it has a nice border that doesn't curl because this moss stitch lays quite nicely. I want to show you how to do these really simple knit and purl stitches to create a light texture of chevron. This stitch is a 20 stitch repeat, and I'm going to show you one section of this. I have done a long tail cast on of 20 stitches, and now we're going to start our stitch pattern repeat. This chevron section is done in a repeat of 4 rows. So it only takes 4 rows of 20 stitches to do this pattern repeat, and it is all knit and purl. So for row 1, we're going to start with doing a knit, and then we will purl 2, and then we will knit 2 and purl 2. And then we are going to knit 5. And then we will purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and knit 2. And that completes row 1. Now for row 2, this can be reversible, but for the instructions, this is the wrong side of our work. We are going to do a purl 3, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 3, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and purl 2. So it's all just purls and knits, just done in a certain pattern to get that beautiful chevron. And now for row 3, we will start with a purl 1, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and then we will end this row with a purl 1 and a knit 1. And that's row 3. Now for row 4, and this is the last row in our row repeat, we're going to start with a purl 1, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and then we are going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, and then purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and knit 2. And that completes row 4 of the 20 stitch repeat and a 4 row repeat for that gorgeous chevron stitch. So you'll just repeat that over and over again, and it will come out to being this beautiful, nice, soft textured chevron looking stitch just using simple knit and purl stitches. Today we're going to learn how to do this really cute knit stitch. It's called the cross stitch knit stitch. And it's quite simple. So while yes, we are doing some crossovers here, it's not as complicated as other cables. It's quite easy. It's an introduction, I feel like, into getting used to crossing stitches. So you can use a cable needle or a DPN if you want. I'm going to show you 2 ways on how to work these crossovers. And this is a stitch repeat that can be done in 10 stitches, and it is a 12 row repeat. Now to show you how to do this cross stitch, I'm just simply doing a stitch repeat of 10. And I have done some stockinette stitches here just so we can see when we get to this crossover how it looks. I've knit the first 3 stitches in my row, and we'll be working this cross stitch over the next 4 stitches. If you've never done this before, in terms of crossovers, I highly recommend trying it with a DPN or cable needle the first time, but then I'm also going to show you on the next crossovers how to do it without this. So this is how you would do it with a cable needle. For our very first crossover, we'll be working these 2 stitches. This will be a 1/1 left cross. So we'll take the next stitch on our left hand needle, and we're going to slip that to our cable needle and place it in the front of our work. Then we are going to knit the next stitch off of our main needle. And now we will come back and knit the stitch off of our DPN or our cable needle. And that is a 1/1 left cross. To do 1/1 right cross, which we'll be doing next, we're going to slip the next stitch to our cable needle. And now we're going to place it to the back of our work. So it's going to sit on the back of our work. And we are going to knit the next stitch off of our main needle. And then we will knit the stitch off of our cable needle or the DPN. And that is a 1/1 right cross. You can go ahead and set your cable needle down for a minute and finish out this row. And so we've done the first part of this cute cross stitch. You can see we have a stitch leaning this way and a stitch leaning this way. And that's the look that we want. Now for the next row, we're simply going to purl in each stitch. Now for this row, we're going to talk about doing this without a DPN or a cable needle. You just can choose which one you prefer. We're doing a left cross and a right cross again. We're just going to switch the placement of those. So I'm going to knit the first 3 stitches in this row. And now over the next 4 stitches, we are going to be working these left and right crosses. So for this, we will need to do over the next 2 stitches a 1/1 right cross. To do this without a cable needle, I'm going to insert my right needle into the left stitch on the left hand needle, and then I'm going to kind of pinch my work just slightly, and I'm going to slide these 2 stitches off of my needles. Now notice that what I want is I want this right one to cross over, so I'm going to grab the stitch we just dropped back onto the left hand needle, but this stitch here is now on the right hand needle. I'm going to place that right back onto my left hand needle, and those stitches now are actually crossed. So we'll just knit those 2 stitches. And you can see here with the way this is leaning, this is a 1/1 right cross, but we did it without a cable needle. Now to do a 1/1 left cross, we are going to need to take our right hand needle behind our work and grab the second stitch on the left hand needle. Just insert your right hand needle into that second stitch on the back of your work. And then we're going to kind of pinch a little and pull the left hand needle out. And then we're going to go right back and grab that loose stitch with our left hand needle. And then we're going to place this stitch on the right hand needle back to the left hand needle. And now those stitches are crossed and we can simply knit them. So it is a little bit scary for some people to do that way because they're afraid they're going to drop a stitch. But if you get used to it, I find it really quick and a fast way to do those crossovers. So now we can see here that we have done our crossovers in a way that make this look like an X. So that's that cross stitch look. And we have our right and left crosses that make that shape. So it's really simple to do, and you'll just do this for the blanket pattern in different orders so that they stagger. So all these are just what we did, just placing a different amount of stitches starting on each row a certain way, and then it kind of creates that diamond look. This is a really fun stitch to learn and do. There's so many uses for it, for garments or blankets or home decor. Now this diamond section is really easy to create because we're all just using knit and purl stitches to create this beautiful texture. So this is a 10 stitch repeat and it has a total of a 10 row repeat. So I'm going to show you that 10 stitch and 10 row repeat. I've casted on 10 stitches to show you this 10 stitch repeat, and I've just done a few rows of stockinette so that we can see our first row that we're working on this diamond pattern repeat easier. So to start this, for the very first row, your repeat for the stitch will be to purl 2, knit 7, and then purl 1, and that is row 1. For row 2, we will start by working on the wrong side of our work, and for this one we're going to start with knitting 2, purling 5, and then we will knit 2 and purl 1, and that's row 2. For row 3, we will start with knitting 2, and then we will purl 2, then we will knit 3, and then we will purl 2 and knit 1, and that is row 3. For row 4, we're going to start by doing a purl 2, a knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, and then purl 3, and that is row 4. For row 5, we're back on the right side of our work. And for this, we'll start with knitting 4, then we will purl 3, and then we will knit 3. And that is the end of row 5. So all of our odd rows are the right side rows. You can kind of see where these lines are going that will help make that diamond. For row 6, we will start with a purl 3, and then we will knit 3, and then we will purl 4. And that is row 6. For row 7, we will start with a knit 3, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, and then knit 2. And that's the end of row 7, and we can see our purls and knits really taking shape here where they will make a diamond. When you're doing more than one repeat, these will connect. For row 8, we will purl 1, knit 2, purl 3, knit 2, and purl 2. On row 9, we're going to start with a knit 1, and then purl 2, knit 5, and then purl 2. And then for our last row for this repeat, it will start with a knit 1, purl 7, and then knit 2. And that is your 10 row repeat. So we're looking at the wrong side of our work right now. You kind of see where the diamond is actually made, more of those lines are made looking like it's the knit stitches. And then on this other side, this is the right side of our work. We can see how that diamond pattern would work up if we were to repeat it over and over again across something like a blanket. So once again, this is how your design pattern repeat will look when you're doing this and repeating it over and over again. This is with a worsted weight yarn. I showed you in a bulky weight yarn, but you can see how these repeats end up adding up to all these really, really pretty diamonds. So it's a 10 stitch repeat and a 10 row repeat, and really relaxing and fun to do with simply knit and purl stitches. I hope you enjoyed this video. Come back soon for more fun tutorials.